Hi, everyone. Number 34 today. You can tell my wife is going to be, there's a second chair. She's going to be occupying that chair in just a 3 minutes. So let me read number 34 first. The last one in this series about video games. Number 34, Sunday, July 10th, 2022, video games and storytelling. Hi, everyone. One final journal about video games and why I believe they're the most immersive storytelling medium there is. I'm not saying every game enthralls its player in a gripping narrative. The pinballs, Pongs, and Pac-Men may have plots, but only in the way that nonsensical dreams do. I was being chased by ghosts, and they were trying to eat me, but then I ate them instead, and then I had some cherries, stem and all, but I didn't shoot the asteroid in time. That's not a good story, but plot isn't the point of those games. It was the leaderboard that consumed the player's quarters. Entertainment in these genres may be contingent on competition, but there are numerous other genres of games and notable works within each. There are puzzle games, Tetris, Lolo, Lemmings, Top View shoot 'em ups, Galaga, 1942, Akari Warriors, side-scrolling beat 'em ups, Double Dragon, Final Fight, and some TMNTs, 2D platformers, Sonic, Castlevania, some SMBs, first-person shooters, Wolfenstein, Doom, GoldenEye, adventure RPGs, Zelda, Dragon Quest, Phantasy Star, and plenty more. I was holding that in. I hope that wasn't super loud for the entire roster of games, and plenty more. But that last genre is where real immersion resides, deeper than film and paper can achieve. In the 1970s, Edward Packard tried to plumb these depths, creating his Choose Your Own Adventure book series, but there wasn't a lot of personal agency, a few multiple choice life decisions in all. Every other action was authored by Packard. That's not the kind of freedom William Wallace yelled about. Joe Dever's Lone Wolf books were better, but only the modern RPG can deliver liberty worthy of a Wallace holler. There are, of course, plenty of progenitor games worth acknowledging, such as chess, but chess is basically an embryonic stem cell, pluripotent, gives rise to whatever, everything, whateverything. Just give the game pieces goals and personalities, and suddenly it becomes a story. Tabletop games, e.g. D&D, also warrant mention, but I think the multipotent progenitors are Wizardry and Ultima, both released in 1981. In a sort of Lynn Margulis endosymbiotic merger, Ultima ingesting Wizardry, Complex Life was formed, Dragon Quest, 1986. DQ spit out 10,000 daughter cells, e.g. Final Fantasy, and probably inspired a million tattoos. But what comes next? Where does gaming go from here? I don't think it will be all that long before a Nobel Prize in Literature is awarded to the story writer of a video game. And not long after that, a substantial sum of the work reviewed by the Nobel Committee each year will be video games, because games can do everything that other media can, and plenty of things they can't. Consider point of view. Traditional storytelling is limited to first, second, and third person perspectives. Sometimes multiple perspectives are used in a single book, e.g. the 5th season, but video games enable an additional perspective. You can call it true second person if you want, but that feels insufficient. There are elements of first, the way the character engages with the world. There are elements of second, you are the protagonist. And there are elements of third. The vantage is a semi-omniscient one. The player typically knows more than the character displayed on the screen. Fusing all of these into one cell, I would argue, constitutes a new life form, the fourth person point of view. The most captivating perspective there is. But there's something even more powerful that video games can do, Nobel dynamite power, which may eventually obliterate the alternative forms of storytelling. Video games are uniquely able to deliver an individualized experience. The advent of the internet marked the death of personal discovery. Without the joy of discovery, every adventure lacks thrill, and thrill is a crucial component of emotional connection. Thus, an engrossing story told in the fourth person that is largely emancipated from internet description deserves conferral by the Swedish Academy. We'll get there in shortish time. In the meantime, I nominate Yuji Horii to be the medium's first laureate for his innovation in storytelling immersion. The end. Okay, so if I hear footsteps. Just imagine some like theme music is happening as you enter the okay, so first you'll notice that it's hard to get in and out of these chairs. So why are we wearing these shirts?
Well, during my break after the semester, I beat Zelda 1. It was on my to-do list.
I'm going to return to this and just grab it.
Of video games, and I played it and I loved it.
On the Switch,
Yeah.
But as authentic as one can be on the Switch.
And it was a great game, made in 1986. It's 2023 and I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you're like humming the music and like we wake up in the morning and she has Zelda stuff like in your mind.
It's a great game. If you guys have the Switch and the expansion pack, I highly recommend playing it.
And so we'll get to the other one because your first Zelda game was Ocarina.
Yes.
And of course I started with this game. And so we're now wearing matching-ish shirts. It is a secret to everybody.
I like how you say it in that accent.
Yeah, there's no way that like
there's no voice in the video
with those fangs and stuff. His lips aren't gonna be able to articulate like accents. I mean, he's just gonna grunt.
Yeah, and there's like secret passages in the original.
Oh, she went around burning every bush. Like that's like what I did in the 80s was you just go around with that candle, and especially when you get the second one and the blue candle on you, when it's unlimited on one screen, so you don't have to exit the screen and come back. But you went around like burning every bush, and I was so excited because you were.
It was such an enjoyable video game, mainly because I got to experience it with you, and I just felt the excitement on the other end, and I'm like, this is great.
I haven't played in so long, but I still remembered a lot of the bush locations and stuff.
It's to everybody. It's like, oh, that's a great line.
And so there's a lot of stuff that I remembered, and as I remembered it, there's like little neuronal connections that hadn't fired in a long time, and it's like getting out of bed and stretching in the morning. It's like, oh, I haven't used these tissues for a while, and it feels good to stretch. There was like a cognitive equivalent of stretching. I still haven't played not Breath of the Wild. What's our
Overwatch?
No, I still haven't played Overwatch. Tears of the Kingdom. I still have not like since our last one of these. So I'll start playing that again.
It's been the Super Nintendo games we've been enjoying.
Yeah, and original Nintendo. Okay, so today, although your semester starts tomorrow, so this is the last one of these we're going to do for a semester. We did a couple right before your first semester. We're doing a couple between. We'll get another one at some point in the future. But today's list, because we've done 2 top 20s and a top 10.
2 top 20s and
Oh no, that was just like a 3 or 4 games or something like that. The Purgatory.
Yeah. And then this one is my top 10. How many do you have? 5. I'm gonna be more commentator.
Okay.
But also I think my 5 is pretty good. So
okay, so how about I have 10 and 2 honorable mentions because I do this every time.
So be prepared for a longer video. You can fast forward it to my part if you
Some people will. Some people are going to do that, and I don't mind. You can definitely do that. But once we get to the top 5, how about you do your I'll do honorable mention, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3.
Okay.
And we don't know what's on each other's list. I do have a piece of paper over here with my roster in order that I'm going to take. Oh, so the first one. My first honorable mention is this sounds maybe like pompous or something, but my own novel as an RPG.
Oh,
made by someone else, because I think it's okay when musicians listen to their own songs, and when like a visual art. I mean, we have one of my paintings right there.
Like me and bodybuilder, I'm like looking at myself in the mirror, not for vanity, but yeah,
you're appraising I guess if I'm looking at something, I'm always reappraising it. But what comes from the heart connects with art. So imagine somebody else, imagine there's like a musician and like somebody else wrote that song that would like have come from there. Oh, the connection would be so strong. And so we make what would connect with us. And so it would be interesting to see. I mean, I've been working on this world for over a decade, and to see it realized in an interactive, immersive way would be, I think, really enjoyable. My second honorable mention.
No spoiler alerts about the novel at all.
No spoilers. Yeah.
Moving on quickly.
My second honorable mention is like 15 years ago. I registered these 2 domain names. I still have them, but rockbandrpg.com and rockstarrpg.com, because I think it was 2005, Guitar Hero came out. And I thought that was clever and stupid at the same time, because nobody's playing a real instrument and you're just playing other people's songs.
There's only like 4 buttons
There's
on
like
there.
buttons that just look like a Toys R Us toy for little kids. Like, okay, do you want
to?
No, we got it and I played it with my parents. That's like so few games. I've mentioned this before, that in the original Nintendo era, we played like Duck Hunt and Metal Gear. And then my parents didn't play video games until the Wii, where I got it for them for Christmas one year. And then
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, we used to play Wheel of Fortune. Until the console and it got so dusty that it doesn't work anymore. But I never had a Wii because I just got one for my parents. And so I played games with my parents on the Wii. What was I even talking about? So Rockstar RPG. Oh, the Rock Band, Guitar Hero. There's a Beatles edition, and my brother got it for them. And so we played some Beatles songs on fake instruments. But I thought that game's.
Okay, what band member were you? Did you imagine yourself?
I don't even remember who I was, or it's still there. So every time we go to my parents' house, you can see it, and it just reminds me of being in the room and doing it. But I don't remember the experience of playing. I might have just been watching or something.
That's no fun, then.
I mean, it's fun. It's not no fun. It's less fun. There are gradations, I think, of fun, and this would be moved down a rung of the gradations of fun. But so Rock Band RPG, Rockstar RPG is like right around the time that Guitar Hero came out. I'm like, oh, this could be improved upon. Someday technology will permit me to improve upon this.
So explain this game then.
Okay, so the idea is like in Guitar Hero, you just play other people's songs with a couple of buttons. Write your own songs and go on tour, and and have it be like this open world where it's like a US version or something like that. And you go around touring, and maybe at first you can only play in a bar that like smells like piss. I went to a ton of underground shows like in Portland.
But this is the video game.
And so I know what underground. I mean, I went to like 75 like underground shows. Like indie band, nobody has a label, underground, and there's really good ones that like didn't make it. And I know the types of clubs, but like play at those clubs, and then as you write more songs and get band managers and get better, it's an RPG. And then maybe the end of the game is you play Madison Square Gardens. That would be like so much. And so I registered those domains.
The idea of writing your own songs.
And so I thought, like, someday technology will permit this to be possible, and I want to be involved at that point. So I'll hold on to the custody of these. Like, no, I get to work with you when like a developer wants it.
Did you sell it?
No, I still have them both. So this episode is sponsored by me and my willingness to part with those domains, because my first honorable mention, I said what comes from the heart, connects with it. And AI is what would permit the songwriting part of to have this whole game come together without costing a fortune. And AI doesn't have a heart. And so I would have a hard time connecting with it now. I thought the game would have been so cool made by humans. And now that it's possible, I kind of want to get rid of the domains. So that's why it's only an honorable mention. It would have been on my list.
Oh, these aren't lists yet. These are just
look at my list. Okay, so getting to my list.
Okay.
My number 10, so I'm going to do in order to 6. You came up with this one. That would have been such a good idea, talking about our purgatory games. Do you remember? I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't remember.
Sid Meier's. Civ 6. Yeah. So after our purgatory one, you said, like, you know what I should have put on there?
Yeah. Okay, I see. But where are you going with this?
So where I'm going is Civ 7. Okay. No, I know Civ 7's gonna come out because 6 of them have come out, and I bet like my prediction is holiday season 2024, gearing up for Christmas. Civ 7, Sid Meier's Civ 7 is going to come out. But the version I want, because I think Civ 6, every story arc is kind of the same after a while. So this is my purgatory game, purgatory game that doesn't exist.
Wait,
so my number 10. I'm changing the rules a little bit.
Confused here.
Yeah, everyone's confused.
Wait.
Yeah, you're the spokesperson for everyone.
Okay. So we're not on the list yet.
No, we are, but this is my number 10. Okay. But this is also, if I had a purgatory, because we chose purgatory games that exist. We didn't choose, what would you take to purgatory with you, where time is eternal, that doesn't exist, that you could invent one. And so this is my number 10, is my imaginary purgatory game, but it would be my number 10 in real life too.
Okay.
But so when you play Civ 6,
I'm still confused.
I know, but you get enough of it. It's like reading a complicated novel. You're like, I don't know. I know who the main character is. I'll just turn some more pages. Good writing will keep me going. I don't know what the hell's happening. Nothing actually. Nothing's ever happening. But you begin in like pottery is cool in Civ 6. Not in Tolstoy. And then you advance to this point where there's like nanotechnology. Are you looking for Tolstoy? There's some on the shelf there.
No.
In like nanotechnology and AI is developed at the end of Civ 6.
Yep, I like that idea. AI at the end.
No, it
takes over.
Cool. No, that's where I'm going is I don't want that part, because we'll be in purgatory. Why are we in purgatory? Because AI exterminated everybody. Like in one fell swoop, right? To quote Shakespeare, and a million cliches that followed. But so I don't want to relive like the AI's extermination. So I don't want Space Age in it. What I want is, like, when we played, it was like the Democratic Republic of the Congo got nanotechnology, and it's like 1412. But every story is going to be different
in a world
way.
Without religion.
Right. Yeah. Every game is kind of going to unfold in the same way, where you go through the same steps. What I want for Civ 7 is a version that would work in purgatory, which is like, let's zoom in on a era and expand it. So like the 18th century. That would be so cool. Like an hour, like, because it's 1700 to 1799. Take over the world in hot air balloons and stuff. And on that technology, and it doesn't need to be an hour of gameplay. You could have a year go by in an hour or something like that. So it's like 100 hours to get through 100 years. Or do like Braveheart era with Civ 6, but it's just like Braveheart, and you're trying to take over the world that way. Which is how I play. I choose Vikings, and I'm just a violent monster.
So you can just choose what era you want to play.
You can choose an era and really just like focus on it. And like on Google Earth, when you just zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, you can do that. So like the Roaring 20s would be so cool. You're like mayor of New York, and then until the stock market crashes, that's the end of the game. So there's like a time.
The Great Depression occurs.
Yeah, and then it's like the game's over at that point. So can you take over the world by then? But yeah, I wouldn't want the AI version that just reminds us that, like, why are we in purgatory? Heaven's overpopulated because of the mass extinction. And so they need to remodel the housing up there before we're allowed in. And so why don't you play this game? It's like a Civil War reenactment of your death over and over and over.
So number 10 is your Civ 6.
So number 10, yeah. My number 9, do you have any other comments on Civ 6, or do you just want to get these things moving? So it's your turn, so I can go through, like, number 9 for me, excuse me, towards you, is Simon's Quest Remastered. And like you played through, I played through that one. You played through Zelda, but I played through Simon's Quest.
But I thoroughly enjoyed watching
you put it on your list, on your objective list.
It's good.
And we high-fived, and I did like a Malroth grunt.
And the music, that's a good game.
So good. But so what I want for a Simon's Quest Remastered, because it's been done, but it's like fan fiction. And it's been done with heart, it's been done with passion, but it hasn't been done by the original team. And that's what I want is, no, actually, I want them to lose money on it. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is a money grab and we can put something together quick and release it. I want the team to come together and say, we can make this. We're at a loss. Do we want to do it for humanity? Do you want to give humanity a piece of art that we're going to lose money on?
But yes.
Yeah, but I know it'll never happen. Like Konami is like, no, this is like, it's a donation. It's like, instead of donating to the World Health Organization or like Red Cross or whatever, we're going to make Simon's Quest. Yep. Like, I know, yes. But so I want it to be done by the original team of Simon's Quest members, but like expanded with legends. So like in music, that's called a supergroup. you know, it's like Audio Slave, or the Traveling Wilburys, Mad Season. These bands get together with like icons from different bands. In sports, it's a all-star team. In video games, I propose the collective noun be called a chrono trigger. Trigger is like the ultimate game of, and sort of was like it was never re-released.
Akira Toriyama and
Akira Toriyama was in it.
Final Fantasy person.
I don't know the Final Fantasy team. Yasunori Mitsuda, though, was the musician, and that was really what launched him into the highest tier. I mean, he's like the brightest star in the Koji Kondo and him are sort of the brightest stars in the living sky. So yeah, I want a chrono trigger of original members of the Castlevania team and other icons to come together and make Simon's Quest. Like if AI touches that, I don't want it. The original Simon's Quest.
If AI touches anything,
I don't want it.
We don't want it.
It's not emotional. It doesn't have a heart. I'm totally pro AI in practical matters, medicine and law and stuff. My number 8, I think you'll like this one. And this one you would agree to put on your list, I think.
Maybe it is on my list.
Maybe, or some equivalent of it or something. I doubt this specific thing is on your list because it's weird. But my number 8 is Magic School Bus in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Magic School Bus in Mario Land?
In Mario Land.
Yeah.
Call it
Mario Land.
You know, Magic School Bus. It like goes into like, let's explore anatomy and physiology and, you know, cell bio.
It's definitely not on my list.
It's definitely not on your list, but maybe there's like something similar in this vein. To put it into Magic School Bus terms. But I want to know what's in a Goomba. You know, I want to know what's in a PD Piranha. I know what their outside looks like.
I like that idea.
Yeah. What's in a Yoshi?
Yeah.
You're not using your Yoshi mug today, but like, how does that work? I don't know. I mean, there's so many characters. Probably the most interesting, like, I mean,
what's in Luigi? His legs. Oh my God. How does he?
No, that, and like they jump like 15 feet in the air. I mean, Luigi especially.
What type of muscle fibers?
Yeah. So like, what myosin isoform specifically is going to be in there, you know, because there's different proteins.
I love it. And Peach, how can she float? What is going on?
Yeah, what anti-gravity? I mean, is it some sort of like center of gravity shift that happens? And so we would need
that's great.
biomechanists, first off, because it's lever systems to explain Luigi and Mario in part the trade-off between force and, you know, nobody goes off a ramp in first gear and gets real air. But then the fiber typing of like, what I got to see how that. Let me look at that myosin at what version that is. That's no 2A, 2B, 2X stuff.
I like that idea. Yeah.
But then like even like throw me down a Yoshi, toad mouth and like the head and how does this work? What is the brain occupied? I want to know how all that stuff works. Birdo. Oh, that's the most interesting one. In the Mario 2 manual, it says Birdo is a boy who wants to be a girl.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I didn't know that until I recently beat the number 2 one.
You recently beat the number 2.
It's like, oh, that's
and it's like if you open up the manual, right? This is I think 1988, somewhere around there.
How progressive.
I know, but he wanted to be called Birdetta. It says in the manual, it's like Birdo is a boy who wants to be a girl. That might not be an exact quotation, but you can look it up. You can just go and you can see the whole passage in the picture. And he wanted to be called Birdetta, but he produces eggs.
Birdetta.
Let's say she, because that's what he wants. And so let's honor his her wishes. I'm bad at this stuff, but I'm trying to.
The pronoun thing.
I'm really bad at it. Yeah. She wants to be a
girl. Dinosaur.
Whatever. Okay. So she is producing eggs with what was born to be, and I don't know where they produce and how do you launch them?
I don't know. And it like the uterus is on her face. Yes, we need that video game.
Magic School Bus in the Mushroom Kingdom. Yeah, it would be expensive to make because
definitely.
You need
the team
to make these things.
These PhD doctors.
It's a bunch of PhDs. No MDs. For reasons that I don't want to be like biased here, but they wouldn't work with MDs. But for PhDs, we need biologists, we need chemists, biochemists, physiologists, biomechanists. That's who's going to understand how these things work and be able to put it together. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is a puzzle game, and I have 2, but there isn't a puzzle game that's perfect for me. And the puzzle game that would be perfect for me, because I'm not going to play Sudoku. I'm just not going to do it. And like crossword puzzles, not going to do it. I need my brain exercise, like my daily exercise, to be, artistic, right? And like nostalgic and addictive. It needs to be addictive. So I actually do it. Nobody's addicted to Sudoku who's in a healthy state of mind. Maybe for the exercise, people get addicted to exercise, so so maybe there's an addiction of a kind, but I want to be addicted to my brain exercise in a normal way. And so to do that,
what video
games, but it would have to be a puzzle game.
Okay.
And my option number 1 would be Gyromite 2. Now you don't know Gyromite.
I don't. I love how sad your eyes got.
No, it's nobody knows. Oh, no, it was so spectacularly bad that it never got a sequel. It came out in 1985 and we're in 2023. And where's our sequel? It doesn't exist because the game was horrible.
Oh.
But what was the game? It was a puzzle game on the NES, and you use Rob, R-O-B, Robotic Operating Buddy. It was a little robot, and you use Rob to do this puzzle game. And what game do we know today that's like uses sort of like robots to do puzzles? That's on the Switch. That's like the best game ever made. Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, I guess that wasn't an obvious question. Tears of the Kingdom.
Robots. So, Link is not a robot.
No, he's not a robot.
He's solving the puzzle.
He's solving the puzzle, but using like robotic things. You use all those
for a pad.
Well, that, but when you go into these temples, each one is a puzzle. Each temple is a simpler, complex, somewhere in the middle puzzle. And you connect all these things together and robotically solve it with what are those little devices called? The Zonai devices. There's like, we love that game, and society loves it. And it'll probably be game of the year unless
definitely prediction.
We would both put our a small amount of money, because we don't have that much down as a wager that it's going to win game of the year. I think Gyromite 2 could take some lessons from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
What kind of puzzles? You didn't get that far. Just puzzles.
Puzzles in general. Okay. But what I think would be even better is Lolo 4.
Oh, that was a good game.
Well, so she watched me play. Lolo number 1.
This is cute and fun. And I like the puzzles, and it was really confusing, but he got through it.
So, but like Lolo is a blue boy, right? And then there's Lala or Layla, L-A-L-A, La. I don't know how to pronounce it because like there wasn't. Lala.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Lala.
Lolo, it's Lala.
Lala or Layla. Lolo and Lala sounds believable. Lele is the pink one, right? So there's a blue boy and there's just little marshmallows, and you solve puzzles.
Innocent.
But in number 3 came out. 1, 2, and 3 all came out on the original Nintendo. Number 3 came out in 1991, and then and you could use Lala or Lolo in that one. And then at the end of that game, that was like it for Lolo and Lala. I mean, yeah, there's like a port, and there's like, but that's really it for.
Probably because Kirby's.
That's exactly.
Okay.
You got exactly where I was going. Kirby came out. Kirby came out a gestation's duration later. So I mean, like at the end of Lolo 3, just like they get pregnant.
Yeah.
No, I think they get Lolo and Lala. They get pregnant, and Kirby looks just like Lala.
That's true.
And so I think the end of Lolo 3 was
they got married.
You know how like in old movies it sort of fades to black and then the copulation that you're just like imply. So there's like a post-coital Kirby that's born. But when Kirby is born, you know how like babies take their first breath?
And they start screaming and crying.
They start screaming and crying, but Kirby comes out and takes his first breath. What happens?
And he gets big
by eating mom and dad. He ate mom and dad. Lolo and Lala have been inside of Kirby's stomach ever since, or his lungs or whatever, ever since. And so I think Lolo 4 at the beginning of the game,
Kirby spits out.
Yeah, he coughs, like a Heimlich Kirby, and he coughs. And Lolo and Lala come out. And that's like what we would call a cut phase, but it's like a cut scene right now. Because they were made by the same
and what
publisher,
would the game be
the same.
Just another like Lolo.
I think Lolo, but you could use any of the 3. So you could use Lolo, Lala, or Kirby, and they all have their own. Like in Mario 2,
puzzle game then.
Another puzzle game. Yeah. But you could solve any of the puzzles with any of the 3, but it'd be different. Like in Mario 2, if you're using Luigi, you're gonna go with the jumps. If you're using Toad, it's a speed thing. If you're using Princess, you're trying to fly places. So they're each gonna have their own advantage. Basically, because I'm so glad that you got Kirby off of the same exact place I was going. You arrived at first. They were made by the same publisher though. HAL Laboratory made.
Okay, yeah,
both.
it's definitely
It's like, and so Kirby is definitely the offspring.
The baby of
So that was my number 7. My number 6 is DuckTales 3. Ooh. So the first one came out, I want to say 89.
Never played any of them.
Oh,
I watched the cartoon.
Actually, the 2 for Nintendo are really good. But number 1 came out early enough.
Are they on the Switch?
I think so.
Because they're not as popular, or what?
I don't know. Maybe they're coming to Switch, or maybe they were produced and it's not like a first party Nintendo affiliate. And so they can't be released without contractual things, and it's too expensive or something. I'm trying to come up with a story of why I'm using a Metal Babble.
Because it's your favorite game.
Well, it's my favorite game, but I use a Dragon Quest mug in each one of these. And this is I'm using the Metal Babble today.
Metal Babbles.
Oh, there's up here. Yeah, there's another Metal Babble. We'll keep them here for luck. Okay, so DuckTales 3. So the first one came out in the 80s. Then the second DuckTales on the original Nintendo came out in 1993. The Super Nintendo came out in 91. And so in 1993, I mean, there's like Mario World and Street Fighter 2. Star Fox is out. A couple of the Final Fantasies are out. I mean, there's like tons of games out on Super Nintendo. And then DuckTales 2 comes out in the original Nintendo and not Super. And so that one didn't get any play time or anything. But both those games were really good. The Moon music on the first one, we play in the house. You would recognize the song because it just plays like in the house sometimes. But what I would want, and then like a really bad computer game came out at some point, a really bad cell phone game came out at some point, but those aren't. I want DuckTales 3 where it's ActRaiser. So some people might know what ActRaiser is, but it was a Super Nintendo game that was a hybrid of SimCity and a side-scrolling action platformer, and beat people up with swords and run, and like a Super Mario Brothers 1 kind of ninja game kind of. So DuckTales would be the SimCity part would be you're Scrooge and you're the mayor of Duckburg, and you're overseeing the development into this thriving metropolis, despite like big monsters coming and attacking. The Beagle Boys maybe trying to take over, Magica doing mischief, and so you're trying to do that, but then also you go on these adventures to to collect, like let's say there's a museum and you're trying to gather priceless artifacts for your museum to raise income for the city. I don't know like how the game works, but you go on these side-scrolling and like you're racing.
Ideas.
These are ideas. You're racing against Glumgold to find the lamp or whatever it is. And
so you just have to keep the city intact.
You have to keep the city intact, and then you go on these adventures to solve, little quests and get artifacts or whatever. And like the nephews are with you. Like in God of War, is it Atreus? Is that his name? Atreus is with Kratos. And so like your nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie would be with you. Maybe Gyro or Launchpad get you to these destinations, something like that. So that's my number 6. We're now into the top 5.
Okay.
And you are
mine. Okay, I didn't put mine in order. Mine are just, here's an idea, here's an idea, so it's not in any order. Mine are not in any order. So I have it on my phone.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Order.
Okay, so I have a real life history video game based on historic facts. So I guess it's kind of like Civ 6, but instead it's real. You're learning history at the same time. So you start off in whatever we know as a population, whatever in real life history. So
we're like Lucy. Contemporary to Lucy. Okay.
Starting off way back
Australopithecus.
Yeah, we're starting dinosaurs. Yeah, and then we progress, and then ancient Egyptian time, and then we progress Roman time, and we'll just keep going. But like real life history facts, and you can pick the Roman Empire or whoever, Caesar, whatever you want. So that's my number
5. Okay, so that's kind of like my Civ 7.
Yes, kind of, but instead mine is real. Yeah,
so it's the actual history.
Yes, of the world.
There were these like old bad Mario games called like Mario in Time or something like that, the education games. where Mario like goes to Egypt and stuff, but it wouldn't be like that. It would be because those weren't actually good. They just like, let's put Mario in a bad game and try to make it work.
Wait, that was real?
There's a real, yeah, but it's not what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like that's rung one and you were at the top of Everest. All right, so I like that number 5, academic. Let's learn world history and maybe we can stop repeating all these mistakes. It's not, but like teach that in school. Get rid of. I loved Oregon Trail, but enough with Oregon Trail. Let's get this in the school system. Okay, so my number 5 is Mike Tyson's Punch Out 2. Okay, so Mike Tyson's Punch Out came out in 1987. Super Punch Out came out on the Super Nintendo at some point, and then there was like a Wii one.
Beat?
Yeah, like I just went. That was my recent game. Was and because I remember playing it when I was a kid, and I wasn't into it because there was like Dragon Chan kicks you. Like that's not boxing. Where's the ref call on this? You know, he like gets up on the ropes and like roundhouse kicks you.
And the one with the stick.
And there's just one guy with like a staff. He has like a weapon, and he comes in and hits you with like Donatello's staff. There's the one who whips you with his hair. And like, why does that harm me? Your life just goes way down. There's a clown. People are elbowing you. There's somebody. The masked guy spits on you. Like, okay, that's just gimmicks. I don't want gimmicks. I want Mike Tyson's Punch Out 2, where it has the original NES cast. You can clean up some of the cultural insensitivity that was, you know, in 1987, there were some stereotypical roles in there that could be tidied up and to be a little more contemporary. But you know, Street Fighter 6, neither of us have played that one, but we don't even have a PS5. But what Street Fighter 6 did, in my understanding, is they have the original Cat Blanca and Chun-Li and you know, Dalsim and whatever, and some new characters, but they can be your trainers, and you develop a character and they can train you, I think, to learn their moves and stuff. And so that would be my Mike Tyson's Punch Out 2 is the original NES cast, possibly supplemented by some, I don't know, Aaron Ryan and the Bruiser Brothers and Gabby J, or you know, a couple of additional, not the clown, you know, none of, yay. But you start and you're like a kid who needs a trainer and can't afford one, and so your only 2 options are Glass Joe and Gabby J, and it's like free because they're like criminal, because everybody's in their 60s now. I mean, Mike Tyson in real life is coming up on 60. I mean, he's a few years shy, I think. As we talk today, he's like 57 or something. But so all the characters in the game might be between the ages of like 57 and, you know, 75 or something. But like Mike Tyson had Castiamata, who was like really old when he started as a trainer. So your trainer's is going to be older than you, and at the beginning you can only afford, you know, Glass Joe or Gabby J, because they never like won. I mean, they won, I think they're like 1 in 99, or you know, they like never won, and so they didn't make any money in boxing, and so they became criminals, and so their community service that they were sentenced to is free boxing lessons.
You created a narrative and everything. Look at that.
And then so you hire one of them, and like they can't travel with you because they're on parole, and then as you start winning, you can start upgrading your coach. You get Von Kaiser and, you know, Piston Honda and whatever.
Dalsim.
That's all. That's right. Yeah, that would be the gimmick with the arms that just like go across it.
Be the magic school bus for him.
Yeah, the magic school bus could start working in some of these other games as well. This Blanca would be interesting, of like, how do those action potentials work with I mean, those like action potentials gone wild with
such
Blanca.
nerds.
But so I think that would be fun. Oh, and then the people you're fighting against, and like Mike Tyson he's the most expensive coach. Like, I think you could get the rights to him. I think you get the rights to, you know, because in 1987, Nintendo got it right at the right time to get those rights to Mike Tyson. I mean, right before he was this global name, on just the precipice of being like one of the most famous people in the universe. Nintendo got the rights, and then, you know, obviously the rights got super expensive after that. And drama happened that I don't want to, you know, talk about or dismiss. But now Mike Tyson is back in good graces of the world, and he was like always my favorite athlete. There was just a phase where I had to like pretend like you, but So he would be, I think, kind of cheap to get now. Not cheap, but relatively inexpensive to get the licensing for the rights to use
Maybe
his
they
name.
will make it.
I hope
Actually,
so. Yeah, because it came out in
Speaking of
87. So what, 2027 is a 40-year anniversary. So the 40-year anniversary release Mike Tyson's Punch Out too. And
do it.
Super Macho Man can have like 15 kids, and you have to fight all of them in some circuit. So that's my number. That's my number 5.
Okay. Going down the list. Okay, I have a good video game on Lord of the Rings open world.
Oh, that would be good, because all the Lord of the Rings games, though I don't know all of them. The ones I've played are really bad.
The one we just watched the review for, where you're Smeagol.
Yeah.
But a good one, like an open world, and it's Lord of the Rings. So
I would like that too. Do you get to use the characters? Do you get to use
you pick whatever character you want,
like one of the dwarves or like Galadriel or something?
Yeah, any character, and that's obviously on the character list. And then
a Balrog.
Yeah. And the mission is to take the ring to the Mountain Doom.
Mountain Doom. That's funny. Yeah, I like that one. It would have to be done right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because again, the games I played are just money grabs for like, oh, this is big right now. Let's release this thing as quick as we can to get a couple of dollars. And like that, I just hate that stuff. Remember, I wanted Simon's Quest to lose money. Like that's one of the conditions of the remake, is it has to actually go at a loss.
So no, they're commentating on Lord of the Rings. That's it, because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it is self-explanatory.
Lord of the Rings. We've all seen the movies.
Yeah, if you haven't.
If you haven't.
Okay,
okay, but one more thing. One more comment. Peter Jackson has to.
Oh yeah.
He has to be involved in the video game.
Yeah, that would have been like a tacit law that was assumed by all the world if it wasn't spoken. But it's worthwhile to just acknowledge that publicly too, so it's on record.
Yes.
So there's no way you can do it without him. Okay, so my number 4 is Kiki's Delivery Service RPG.
I love it.
Okay, because like Ni no Kuni is a beautiful game with beautiful music, and that's Studio Ghibli, and they created this really kind of childlike, romantic, imaginish like setting that was both kind of peaceful and fanciful. A great game, but I want the Kiki's Delivery. I almost said Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. From Magic. I want Kiki's Delivery Service, where the first couple of weeks of the game, like, how games don't come with manuals anymore, which I like, come on. Like, I know it concerns Ninja Turtles did. Ninja Turtles did, and it makes me like that game so much more, because it's the only game that we have on the Switch that has a manual.
Yeah.
And it's like a big and thick and full color and stuff. But games don't come with manuals, so it's like the first hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of the game is like the tutorial. If it's Zelda, you're on the high plateau or in the Sky Island or something. And once you learn all the controls and how to navigate this world, now you're free to do the open world. And so for Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker's delivery service,
new name.
It would be that first couple of weeks with the parents. She's a 13-year-old. It doesn't have to be Kiki that you play as. You design your own witch or something. You're a 13-year-old. And then a couple of weeks later,
be Hal.
Yeah, from the moving castle. So like the full moon happens, cloudless full moon, and it's time to fly and build, like you're coming of age, build something of your life. But in open world, you can choose where you go. You don't have to go to that oceanside or seaside or whatever city and be a delivery service employee.
US Postal
Service, right? You can go to any city. I mean, it's going to be a contained island, some sort of fictionalized Japan. But you can go to any of the cities, let's say 5, 6 cities there, ride a train, fly your broom or whatever there, and build a career.
I like it.
Yeah, so almost like Sims.
Open world.
Open world.
A lot of our games are just all open world, unless it's the puzzles. An open world puzzle game would be weird and complicated. Yeah, too much going on.
So that, and I don't know how you'd end the Kiki's game, because it'd be like from humble beginnings to I don't know what the end is.
Creating your own postal service.
Creating your own postal service, and like
you become like the boss. You
postal service tycoon. Sid Meier's, but like Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker delivery service. Okay, so that's my number 4.
Okay, I have another learning game. Okay, so not history this time. This time it's a learning game, a real life simulation with topics on gardening, cooking, baking, and general home skills like canning, making baskets, etc.
That's
I know
a really good idea.
you had mentioned that, and I was like, no, stop.
I know, because I said you should be like, I have 5, like, well, I have 10 and honorable mentions. And then sometimes she works out to Great British Baking Show. That's like the workout show. And I point, I'm like, oh, what, that could be a game. And you're like, stop talking in a loving way.
Yeah.
It was in a loving way.
Because it was on my list already.
Yeah. And so I do like that is more than just Great British Baking Show.
So the idea is this one I thought thoroughly because I love cooking and baking, and I want to learn how to really garden and like can and do all these like home things. So I put a lot of thought into this. So the idea is you have the home screen. On the home screen, you pick which topic like you want to pursue. So gardening, and then kind of like Harvest Moon, right? So you just garden and then you learn from it though in the video game. Like it teaches you how, like what soil, acid base, how much sunlight the plant needs, whatever you're planting and what you want to harvest and what seasons it's best to. So all of that.
That's a clever idea. And like Martha Stewart can make a cameo. Sid Meier's Martha Stewart's
Sid Meier Kiki cooking service. But yeah, same with like the canning and baking and just regular cooking. And like making
sort of learn like food science.
Yes, all of it. Like I want all of it. Can somebody please make that?
Yeah, and
we need it as a society because
that's like the new version of home ec. So your first one is the
history.
Is a history. So social studies and history, that game. And your next game is to replace like home ec. I don't think exists anymore, but that was like where you learn in middle school, you learn to cook and stuff. I took home ec in I think 7th grade.
Yeah, so that would be my one of my top games.
Among the top 5 is definitely that one. And I'm not going to swap out. I would buy it. So I'm not going to swap out my list. My list is too long already. So is your number 4? 3. That was your number 3.
I don't know.
Okay, because I did. Okay, so my number 3 is it's just an HD remake of a little known game on a little known console, the Philips CDI. And I don't need it like an expansion pack. I just want an upgraded remake of Wand of Gamelon. Okay. If you don't know, that's the worst game ever made. But we should have put that in our Hell games.
Oh man.
I mean, honest, that could have gone in the Hell games. It's it's the Legend of Zelda. Wand of Gamelon. And it's the word. I mean, it's horrible. And so that's not my number 3. My real number 3 is Dragon Quest Builders Alfgard. Or
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden. Because that's what the captions are going to say anyway. So Dragon Quest Builders Alfgard. And where it's an MMORPG where you it's not just a one-player thing where you can log in online to have other people be able to see your stuff. There's engagement. But what I don't want is
people destroying your stuff.
Well, I don't want people destroying my stuff. And you know that would happen. You know, like gangs would form and monarchies and empires would be built. And like when people start, and it's like, well, there's already like 52,000 players, and they've already built up some of the overworld. But I want the overworld to be so huge that you're able to have isolation. It's like Alfgard in its shape and its sort of landmass and whatever. But it's massive, so it can support 100,000 players or something like that on one map. But you know, those beginners would start with like groundhog kingdoms. Like, okay, I'm going to go down 6 basement levels down. I'm going to start building my tunnels and stuff because I don't want people to see me. And when I'm powerful enough, I will build my kind of basement structure over.
So would you be able to battle each other?
You'd be able to battle, but I think the defender would have some sort of advantage. The defender might have monsters coming to defend. You know, a wyvern and some slimes and a werewolf and
okay, so it prevents the other people to actually attack.
It prevents some of the other people from attacking, but if somebody keeps attacking and attacking, they become an aggressor. Maybe they reduced points in like a civility score or something like that, and so it makes it less likely that they're going to have allies to help defend their own. So stuff would have to be built into it to preserve like gameplay playing where it's not just like one person is playing 24 hours a day and it's like a team and they're like yeah, that wouldn't be fun. But I also want it to be, other than the vast dimensions of the continent, I would want it to be true to Dragon Quest, the early games. I don't even want the puns, but I don't want like NPCs who talk like California teens. You know, I don't want period inappropriate armor and weapons and items, equipment, whatever. I don't want motorized vehicles and spaceships and like no like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is great. I just don't want those influences of like space age and like invading
in medieval times.
And yeah, it just doesn't. I don't like that. Other people may love it, but this is my fantasy game that doesn't exist, and so I get to. This is my creation. And so that's my number 3.
So Dragon Quest Builders / Command and Conquer.
/ Command and Conquer. Yeah.
Okay. My number 2 is, oh, this is the last one actually.
Did you only have 4?
No, I have 5. Real life history games, Lord of the Rings, learning game about cooking. My list is off. I only have 4.
Okay, you have 4. So the other game.
1, 3.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so do you want me to do my number 2 first, so then we can each do our number 1, or do you want to do your? What do you want to do?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Did you only have 1 left?
Yeah.
Okay. What did I say? So my number 2.
Oh wait, no, I do have one. It just didn't number it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Remake of Ocarina.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, my list.
Remake of Wand of Gamelon.
Ocarina, but like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, visuals and
with the Navi
gameplay,
and
all of it. I want because okay, it's different times, right? Ocarina of Time is like medieval times. We'll compare it. And whereas Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is like years later, like 1,000 years later or whatever.
Yeah, and that's sort of the hybrid of like there's motorized stuff.
Yes. So I want Ocarina of Time frame. So I want the Deku Tree. I want Lon Lon Ranch. I want like all of that. Just put it all in there. Remake it. I want the exact same puzzles, everything the same. And no Calamity Ganon, just regular Ganon, okay? And that's it. Remake of Ocarina. Okay.
But like a beautiful treatment.
Yep. Tears of the Kingdom style, but Ocarina of Time. And I think it's coming.
I think it might, because I think the anniversary of that game isn't that.
I will buy it.
Okay, so good. So that was your number 2.
That actually would have been like, if we were to rank it, that would be like my number 1. But yes,
okay,
that was.
But your number 2 was going to be your number 1 in just a second. And my number 2. Okay, when I was a kid, and when my brother was a kid, we were kids at the same time. Okay, that's how like age works. That's
how life works.
Calendars and stuff. We had. I'm just gonna talk about mine because I don't really remember his, but I remember like a tent on my bed, and it was, like like a little princess enclosure, like a malaria net princess enclosure that people have on their beds. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah. It's like a sheet looking.
It's like a sheet looking thing. I had that, but it was a tent, and I would unzip it and get in, and I'd be in bed, and the tent was a car.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a Ferrari, like a red Ferrari, but it's a tent, and so obviously it's like a Volkswagen Beetle, right? But like it's a Ferrari Beetle or something. And it has little windows and the body, and so I mean, it didn't have like wood sides, anything like that. It was just the whole thing was like nylon, whatever a tent is made out of. And what is it? Who cares?
We're not campers.
But like, I want that from Mario Kart game. I want Mario Kart VR, and it's a bed tent. Okay, and like you unzip it and you get in, and
this is your number.
This is my number 2. This is my number 2.
Okay, number 2.
I considered putting it my number 1, and I'm glad I didn't. Even being mocked for, but like you get in, and there's cart around you, but there's also window, and the window, the whole thing is a screen. It's a VR screen, and everywhere you look is Mario Kart. And there's a little steering wheel, and you're in your little seat, and there can be 2 seats. It can be like a 2-seater. So we can do it together. We can take turns. First turn, I'll be driving, you'll be shooting the shells, right? And then we'll take turns on the next race, and you'll be driving and I'll be like, dropping banana peels and whatever.
So all around you is a screen.
All around you
kind of like a projector, because that would be kind of expensive.
It would be expensive, but as technology progresses, coming up with ways of making it affordable, and have like the 96 tracks, and it's all VR.
I get it. So maybe it can be, sorry, I'm like impinging on his idea. So the tent, but like a projector screen. So it's cheaper. Okay. It would
so
be
it's
that
cheaper.
expensive.
Yeah, but even if it's like $800 or something like that, it would, oh man, you get so many hours out of that thing. For one game with like 96 tracks, and you can play against each other, and so like we could get 2 of them with like the bundle deal for $1,500, and then on 2 beds but like you could recline the beds all the way and like go to sleep at night still. Like, because you're consuming part of your furniture, you have to still be able to use the furniture.
Mario Kart tent.
Mario Kart, Sid Meier's,
Kiki Jiki Mario tent.
It's like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse or whatever. Like, what is that? So that's my number 2.
I like it. It sounds comfortable.
It sounds comfortable when it's reclined as a bed.
Okay, my last
As a sleep
one.
number.
This is not a number 1, it's just on my list. So like a Sims style play game, but health physiology edition. So you grow a person, right? You learn, it's a learning game, and you have a person just like the Sims, and as you encounter the world, so like you cook, and what you eat, what you choose to eat, you can see how that affects your body. Such a nerd, I know. And then like you can go to the gym and work out and do certain movements, and then you can see the anatomy, like what's going on in the tissue level, like the muscles and stuff.
It's like Magic School Bus, kind of.
Yeah, but like you control
Magic School Bus Origins Edition. And like the person is,
yeah, but it's still like you, it's just like the Sims, but more of a educational part.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. So you have like home ec, history, medicine and biology, physiology, whatever. And then I have like Kiki Jiki's
Mario Kart 10th
edition, and Mike Tyson's, beat him up too, punch out too. Okay, so I like your list. You have a good educational list that would make society a better place. Mine would make society a more unsociable place as people become addicted to
Command and Conquer.
Which brings me to my number 1. My number 1 is very similar to that. It's Dragon Quest IV VR. Okay, so we haven't played that one together yet, but that's on my list of things that we'll do, is play that game together on the original Nintendo. But for the VR remake, like, what I said about my story, my novel, my fables, that I want like real immersion in this world where I can kind of explore, and it's this like fully realized, immersive, expansive world. I want that for Dragon Quest IV, but it also needs to be made by a Chrono Trigger of team members.
I like the coinage that you did.
Oh, thank you. And so it's like Yuji Horii and like the whole team needs to be involved. But like there's other people that are going to need to be kind of coaxed into being on it as well. But virtual reality, like virtual virtues, right? So I want characters to be rewarded for like courage, valor, honor, honesty, generosity, integrity. I like virtues. Because what I don't want, because what I want to do is like take our hands, and I want to go for a walk. We're each wearing the thing, and I'm going to point out the landmarks of my youth, like important destinations of my youth. There's Mombaraba, there's Endor, there's Kilion. I can start pointing. There's Kiki. Why is she doing here? He or whatever what is they doing here? And that's what I want I want to be able to do that. And what I don't want is there's Lacanaba. I love that place growing up, but it's filled with like social like media like monsters.
There's just ads everywhere.
I guess we can go over here. Ads, but like trolls who are and just like ugly people. Ugly meaning their virtues are ugly. Their virtues are ugly. They have ugly virtues, and so that's why virtual reality with like integrity and honesty and what are all that stuff. So that is my number one.
I like it.
I like your list. That really did have 5.
Yes, it did.
And that's it. So I am curious what other games people, and I hope people want to make these. This is our call to like, producers, directors, artists, like everyone who would be involved in video games to make this your priority, these games.
Yes, please make it.
Okay.
That was fun.
I hope everyone else has as much fun as we did today on your today, whenever that is. Metal Babble says bye too.